When the devil came, he was not red. He was chrome, 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 and he said, come with me. Come, come, come with me. You must go. So I went.
Welcome to the Hell is Chrome podcast. Yes, you are not experiencing an auditory hallucination. We have again changed the name of the show. We're really excited about this one. This may become a thing where we just change the name every month. I don't know yet, probably not, but we're really excited. We enjoyed our new song so much that we decided that it was a much more fitting name for the show than the one that ChatGPT came up with. So a little new business, but it's the same show. It's the same. It's the same fools who've been on here for the last year. Speaking of the same fools, John, how are you?
I was waiting for the same fool's comment to come up. I am doing well. I have an iPad that I have to the side of me, and I was just adjusting something on it while you were speaking, and I noticed there's a conversation going on in our Slack channel right now, and saw a post from Travis who does all our artwork, and as you were saying, maybe we change it every so often. There was a side conversation happening completely separate. Like Travis, like, great, change it every few months, and I get to draw more artwork. So we'll see. But I don't know. I like the Hell is Chrome
I
name.
actually don't want to do that. I do like the
Yeah,
Hell
no,
is
I
Chrome.
don't want to either. I want to stick with this one.
It opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. One thing that we've kind of been going back and forth about is I really like the devil, like the iconography, the character of like a devil character, like joining Bum the dog, like as like kind of locals mascots or whatever. And our expanded universe is infinite. There's room for a lot of different things, as we've seen in the supporter section and people's artwork and the banners. So adding a devil is exciting for me. Maybe we get some kind of I don't know, maybe no, I'm just really going off on a tangent. Maybe we get our own shirts at some point, I mean, why not? Why not? I've been, sending pictures of like Iron Maiden album covers to Travis and being like, look, this is the new aesthetic. Not everybody's as excited about that as I am, perhaps.
Well, we did have an option from Jeff here in the chat, and I'd like to thank Jeff because he's always here with us. And I appreciate the humor, and for what's coming up next month, I don't think this is going to be happening. I do think we're going to stick with our Hell is Chrome.
Yeah, it's got staying power. When you mentioned it to me, I was like, oh no, we don't need to change the name of the show. But then
you rejected it outright.
But then like 2 days later, I was like, you know what? Like, actually, yes, we should do that. It's good. So I think everybody will come around, and we were talking today about when should we do this, and it's like, let's just do it now. Like, the longer we wait, the harder it'll be to do it. So let's just do it. I mean, let me just say, it's our show. It's we can do what we want. I could turn my camera off right now. It's our show. I won't, but I'm just saying we could. So what do we have? Let me just go ahead and pivot a little bit to SDFC business and supporter business. I know that there are always things happening behind the scenes, conversations that you and I maybe aren't always part of. Me for sure. So I know there is a little bit of progress perhaps in our union with the other supporters groups. Still working out some details with that. There are still some more meetings to be had with the club outside of the normal meetings with the club. So things are really, it seems like things are starting to kind of pick up.
There are a couple of things I actually can share that happened today. Um, the first is just an aside note because I think I single-handedly almost torpedoed a couple of things. So there's been some mending of fences and stuff. It was not a. I'm usually pretty good at interacting and working with people and having, we'll call them negotiations, but man, I had a big fail today. So there's some, like I said, mending of some fences, but we're going to get bumps along the way as well. But just
Do you
as a
remember
couple
that
pieces of.
Will Ferrell thing during the Bush administration when he was like dressed as George W. Bush and he was like there at like some ranch hammering on a fence and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just here mending fences."
Mending fences. I do.
That's what I'm sorry, that's what that reminded me of. Please continue.
So
Sorry.
the one bit of news is because we had the 5 original supporter groups, and it is official as of tonight that there now are 7. So Bara 18 and the USG 18 are formally admitted kind of into this foundation group of supporter groups, so that we can start building the alliance and coming up with structure and figuring out how everything works. So those were a lot of conversations that happened over the last 48 hours, I would say,
I think 7
to
is a
kind of
good
get to that
number.
point.
7 is a good number. It's like the
Yeah,
original 7, the founding 7, the 7 samurai, magnificent 7. Uh, there's a lot of 7s out there. I think it's a number that works really well and is even something that maybe we eventually incorporate into some sort of thing with this union group,
could
right?
be.
Like this 7. So yeah, I am really kind of, at first I think a lot of us were kind of like, okay, we want to get this done before these more supporter groups pop up because it's just going to be a whole thing and blah blah blah. But I'm now that it's happened, like I'm really glad that these other 2 groups got in like in the deadline because um to me it's like to be a founding member group of
Right.
a supporters union that is going to, you know, ideally, persevere into the future decades and whatnot as soccer grows in San Diego and in the US, like to be one of the founding member groups. um I think like right now we're all very busy on the minutia and the details, but like when we
Right.
get a little further down the road, like I think it's going to be something that people really are proud of and look back on with a real sense of accomplishment. So I'm glad that the military kind of group, I'm glad they got in there and bar 18 because we are building this thing together. And so yeah, it's cool, and I'm really happy for them that um, it appears from what I've seen that not only are we proceeding with these 2 groups in the union, there wasn't a whole lot of resistance to it either. It was pretty welcoming, so that's a good sign, I think, of what's to come.
Right. I would say the guardrails for groups coming into the supporter group is more of a philosophical conversation. It wasn't directed at either one of these groups. Bar 18 was involved in the beginning, and then there were some issues as they were forming that they had to take care of on their own personal end. So they missed at least one front office meeting, and then just weren't around when we started those initial conversations with the 5. USG 18 has been building for a while, and they have respectfully really stayed back to kind of honor the process, and they were happy to just kind of wait and see. I talked with KB a lot at the soccer's game last night, and same thing, same kind of takeaways that everybody's had. It's another group that wants to be They're, as you kind of phrased it before, they're soccer dorks like the rest of us, right? They want to go in and build that section. So there don't seem to be any other groups on the horizon. It was more that conversation of, do we establish that pathway now and work through it with these other groups coming in and kind of work with them, or do we have them come in and work on that afterwards, but before another group pops up, right? So that's kind of the problem is we all know this needs to happen at some point. We don't want to delay it too long so we run into a similar situation where we're a little bit down the road and all of a sudden there's a group that says, oh wait, what about us?
Because 8's also a good number, like, that you can work with and do stuff with. So yeah, we got to watch out for that.
So I like the makeup of the group. I like the makeup of the people that have been committed to this process. There's been no red flags anywhere. I think Kevin from Chavos put it very well in one of our chats yesterday. I hope he's not offended if I share this, but he basically said, as we were all debating these things, if someone's got a flag planted and and they're ready and they have a group, like, let's just move forward with everybody who's already here, because we all want the same thing. Ultimately, we want the same thing. We're all on the same page. We may have some slight differences for how we want to get there, what a focus should be, but ultimately, we're all on the same page for what we want in that section, what kind of atmosphere we want to bring, all of that. So those are the important things. The other stuff are just little details we got to work out along the way.
Yeah, I'm glad that is kind of done and we move on to the next thing, which I hope is like maybe drawing the line and being like, okay, now we're going to have to pause on integrating new groups until we've established, a structure, bylaws, a process, which I think is actually kind of makes a lot of sense. I think you and I had talked one time about how other unions kind of do it, where you have to kind of have a year where you are like probationary into the section, and then you can't just start out of nowhere and be like a recognized group. You got to kind of like come to the games and participate and show that you're committed to doing the thing, because it is a lot of work. And right now I don't think we are like there's anything about like member numbers or season ticket numbers, right? Like it's
No.
I don't know how many members are in
that
all the
might be
groups.
part of a conversation later, but that is absolutely not part of a
I
conversation
would
now,
say
because
later.
no one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows what those are going to be.
Yeah. But that kind of stuff is what is eventually going to be there. So kind of a more difficult barrier than the folks that kind of got in on the ground floor, which is just kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of interesting ideas thrown around that we're, sharing as part of the discussions, and some things have been kind of more public discussions, some things have been more private between individuals, but there's some good ideas floating around. And what has been very encouraging for me being a part of a lot of this is majority of the people, again, all want the same thing. We're working towards similar goals, and people in general have been very receptive to other people's ideas. That's always been good, that no one's kind of locked in like it has to be this way. So that's good. I'm looking forward to it, and
I'm gonna say
we'll see how things shape up.
I am with my brothers in another group that the drumline should remain Chava's drumline. I know that's a little contentious, but I'm ready to dig in on that one. I think that that's a cool part of our previous like supporter culture experience that I think easily integrates into what we're doing now. But other groups maybe have other ideas of what the drumline should be named. Of course, we've kind of already established this group, right? These drummers that have been playing together for a long time, and that's a conversation obviously for a much later date. We're not naming the drumline just yet, but I'm ready.
You're ready
for the fight.
All right. Well, let me pull up a couple of other kind of SDFZ news and events things to kind of continue along with the Alliance. We did have that Dia del Nino distribution on Saturday. I went there. It was it was it was nice. It's one well, I think it is the first thing I've done with the Chicano Federation to been out there and volunteer. They had a very well organized and set up. But I do have to say, when you go and for me, I'm always looking at learning what other groups are doing, learning what things we could incorporate or add. I don't know how many numbers the wave and sirens, had there. It felt to me like 3/4 of the volunteers came from, sirens/wave, and they were in branded shirts that said volunteer across it. They just, it fit in really nicely compared to the rest of us that were all just kind of there on, I was wearing a local shirt, but people wearing different clothes and stuff and helping out. But as we think towards other philanthropic efforts that we might want to do even on our own, just looking at some of those ideas. But Wave and Siren, they got their act together when it comes to volunteer work in the community. I've seen some other pictures and stuff. They really do an outstanding job. I hope we can emulate some of the things they do in the future for some of our community service things that we would like to implement over the next year or two. But that was a good good event for a worthy cause. Good to see a bunch of locals out there helping out. But that was last Saturday. Next Saturday is our big all SG rally at Hopnonymous. So are you going to, I know your schedule's been busy. You haven't made it out to too many events. Are you going to be able to make it out to this one on Saturday?
What's the date? The 20th?
13th.
The 13th. Oh, yeah.
This is the one at Hopnonymous, not the bonfire, which is the next weekend.
I have to check. My kid has a game for sure, but it's a home game, so I don't think we're going to like anywhere crazy.
It's an evening event, so let me give you the details. Because on the last podcast, because someone had given me a heads up that I thought it was going to start around noon, and that's what we said last time. It absolutely does not start at noon. It's like a 6 to 9 in the evening event. So I want to make sure everybody's clear there on the time. It is still, though, dog and family friendly if you want to bring everyone along. It will be at Hopnonymous in the Kearney Mesa area, a little bit off of Convoy there. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, I was going to ask you, Andrew, also, did you happen to see the Riptides, one of our sister supporter groups here in the Alliance, put out a video this week for an initiative partnership that they were doing. Did you happen to catch or see that video at all?
I did not.
Did not. Anyway, video very well put together. I want to give a huge shout out to Riptide for this, but they're doing a partnership with the Barrio Logan College Institute, along with Hopnonymous and Riptides themselves, and it ties into their shirt that they did for their SG. And then they have a beer that's being brewed at Hopnonymous, but a chunk of the proceeds from the sales of that beer, which is a Mexican lager, if I remember. I don't know if they gave a name, or I certainly don't remember the name if they did, but it's a Mexican lager, and proceeds of all those beer sales will go to the Barrio Logan College Institute, like that. So again, another really good partnership that one of our fellow SGs are putting together in our alliance. And if you go there and have one of the Mexican lagers, you get to help out the Barrio Logan College Institute.
Oh, that's cool. So speaking of t-shirts, I've heard that we also get to break t-shirt news tonight. Do you have the story there?
Well, I don't have the details. The last I heard were things were supposed to come in today. Did you see anything new on channels that I missed? Because if you
no,
did, share.
I'm just firing from the hip without fact checking like normal.
Got it.
Trust me, folks, they're coming. If they're not here already, they are going to be here within a matter of days, and your Lydia Brokoff, the membership of the Leadership Council and Director of Merchandise, will be getting that information to everybody first via Discord, of course, for when and where you can pick up your blue local shirts. Very excited to finally have our 2.0 SDFC, our first piece of branded merchandise. I love my yellow local shirt, but you really stick out whenever you come to SDFC things wearing bright yellow. So, yeah, I'm excited to get that.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I've also kind of got wind of some potential other ideas that are in the works, so I hope some of those come to fruition soon. We did. I've heard back that we had quite a few people that wanted to get in on the t-shirts and sweatshirts from this current order that we did, and they missed the pre-order. So again, if you're listening to the podcast, I mean, one, make sure you're checking your bi-weekly emails. Definitely get in Discord, because that's where you're going to get the majority of the information. I know sometimes that you don't want to do another social media app, but Discord really is our go-to app for everything in terms of getting out the most current information, because it's one of the places we can have a private, secure channels with only our members
It's
and
like
give
a
out
chat
information,
room.
especially and especially things that are sensitive that the club may release to us a little bit early. They're not general public knowledge, but they're releasing it out to supporter group members a little early. But it's your way to find out about those. So sometimes there's not even things we talk about on the podcast that you can find out in the Discord. So if you're not in Discord yet, please make sure you sign up and get in there. It is your best way to get the most recent and full information for everything in the supporter group.
Yeah, I'll just say Discord is very unobtrusive. It's not like being on a social media. You don't have to have a picture on your profile or any of that jazz. For locals, we'd like to have your name, but you can be only in one Discord channel. And if it's just the locals, then you're just in the locals channel, and you're not going to be flooded with notifications or timeline. There's no timeline. There's no nothing like that. It's just a chat room, and it's very. I think I don't think the learning curve is very steep at all in Discord. It's very simple, and that's what makes it so useful, is that it is simple.
Yes, I would agree. We also teased last week this, I believe, what the club is calling their Forge the Foundation series with supporters, that there might be some online events for people to tune in and get information from the club. There was originally, because you might have heard a date, and there originally was supposed to be one for this Friday. As of the recording of this podcast on Tuesday the 9th, unclear whether that one is going to go forward or not. If it does, we will probably release information in Discord to get it, so the link is not open to everyone in the general public. But there is going to be kind of a pseudo alliance meeting on Thursday with the front office, and I imagine details and format of those online discussions are probably going to be one of the topics we go over. So that may or may not happen this Friday. Just again, there may be a few supporter group things, as we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, especially in the month of April, that may pop up with just a few days' notice. So Discord is your best place to find out about those if you're interested in attending any of them. And we will try to get out on socials, just, hey, check Discord for information or a link. But be in Discord if you want that information. Oh,
so
guess
I
what?
did see the video that
got
the
an
club
alert
made.
that the April 12th will be rescheduled.
Okay, there we go. You heard it here first.
Yep.
I was saying I did see the video that SDFC made about the Sockers. That was very cool.
Yeah. And you didn't make it out last night to the Sockers playoff match.
No, my kid had practice. I was.
Yeah.
It was
You're
late
doing the
practice,
chauffeur thing.
7:30 to 9 p.m. practice. Lots of fun. So
It was, well, if you're a Sockers fan, it was a good game. I'm not sure it was a great game if you're a Texas Outlaws fan, but um, there was like 3 goals early on in the match that really set the tone for the first game, and then they had to have the mini game, which was tense for a little bit, and then the Sockers finally just broke the game open, and it was had it handily the rest of the way. So I think their next home playoff match is the 21st, if I remember, but I'm sure we'll be getting information out again in the Discord for anybody who might want, and especially if we get any special connections for tickets or anything, that will be in there to go like we had last time. So there were some of our members, if they were in the know in Discord, they ended up actually getting free tickets to go to the Sockers match if they were on the ball. So that was good. There were quite a few people there. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, those games are a lot of fun.
All right, the big event, the one we've been teasing forever, but not really giving you any details. The club finally released all the details for the Chula Vista Chrome Ball Tour event on May 4th. So are you familiar with any of these, Andrew? I'll toss it to you. If not,
I didn't see.
I'm actually going to pull up a screen.
I didn't see what the club put out. I just know because I kind of knew ahead of time because I was at that one meeting. So,
right. So there is this artwork that I think is fantastic that they put together. So if you're not familiar with these Chrome Ball Tour events, they always do some artwork that's a patch and on a shirt and various things. So you can collect these if you like collecting these types of things. But I really love this one that was put together. Let me scroll down to get a little further, but just some of the events here. And depending how big your screen is, you may not be able to read all of this. But it's going to be going from 11 in the morning till 10 at night. We speculated last week how long it would go. It's supposed to go till 10 at night. They're closing down, I can't remember how much it is, but at least a full block of 3rd Avenue that they're closing down. It might even be 2. They're going to have live music by Rossi Rock and Sebi OG. DJ Beto Perez, who's been at a lot of the Chrome Ball Tour stops, will be doing some DJ work. They're going to have a cumbia band. Little Rob will be performing. They're having street soccer. There's a first responders tournament. That's the thing that actually starts at 11 before the full event, I think, officially starts at noon. But there's going to be 3v3 soccer tournaments that happen all day long, men's, women's, high school, and then youth ages from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. Those will all be co-ed. There's going to be a local car show, a lucha libre performance with Masked Republic. There's going to be SDFC Colors of the Community Fashion Show, a beer garden, kids area with face painting, inflatables, all kinds of stuff. It is going to be an absolutely massive event that they're happening down in Chula Vista. And as we've been saying for weeks, we want to get as many locals out to this event as possible. And just come visit, come stop by.
we want a critical
gear, new
mass
or old,
of locals.
come on down. And yeah, we just love to have whenever you can, come on down to the Chula Vista event. So Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you because you've also given some descriptions of what you think this event's going to be a little bit like.
So yeah, I think if anybody's familiar with like the Chula Vista Lemon Festival that takes place every year, I mean, I think that is the entire downtown stretch of 3rd Avenue. I don't think this is shutting down that much of it, but yeah, it's going to be there's that park right there, kind of on the south end of 3rd Avenue, kind of toward like Labella's, if you're familiar with Labella's Pizza. But yeah, I've heard a beer tent / beer garden. I believe that is also going to be in the park area. I don't know how the club is going to manage that right now, but we were told beer garden / beer area. So that's to be determined. I know that, people seem to like beer, so that might be a draw. These soccer tournaments, I think they're going to be like in the street. I think they're going to set these courts up somehow in the street.
Yes.
Um, so that will be very cool. And then, obviously up and down Third Avenue, there are a lot of shops, restaurants, breweries, tasting rooms. Uh, there is a fantastic bakery and coffee shop called Cakes that is run by
Yes.
a member of Chavos. So um, that is, I think, a good place to go and support. If you are not often in Chula Vista, I recommend going there and getting something. um, and yeah, it's just a great community. Obviously, I mean, I live in Chula Vista, but it is a great community. It's a great soccer community. And I think the club recognizes that. And that's why you're seeing them kind of pulling out all the stops on this with the stage and the bands and the entertainment, stretching the event into the evening. So yeah, it's looks like it's going to be a block party. It's going to be a block party,
Yeah.
and for us as the locals, we are one of now 7 supporters groups in the alliance, the yet to be named alliance slash union. And this is kind of the first time that this is like the first big opportunity for us to kind of show up in numbers and kind of show what we're about and what we've got and what we're working with here. The previous Chrome events were much smaller. The locals' presence was much smaller, a few people at the table, the tent. But this one, I would anticipate that there were going to be a lot of people from the various groups, if not some of the groups, probably all their members will be there. So, I just am imploring our members, our members of leadership to make the effort. And, if you can only come for 2 hours, come for 2 hours. If you can only come for an hour, come for an hour. But put in a little bit of time. We don't have any soccer. We don't ask a whole lot of folks, but this one I'm asking. Come down to Chula Vista, and you know this is the best opportunity yet to actually uh, integrate yourself into the community that we are trying to build here with this new club. And I know that uh, among our community, uh, the prospect of being in a community with this new club isn't appealing or hasn't been appealing maybe yet. But this particular event, I think, is going to be your best, the best example of what it is and what it could be for you to come and check it out if you're kind of on the fence. Um, all of your old friends are going to be around, and your old friends that work for this new club are going to be around. So um, that's kind of been the cool part of doing these events is, seeing folks like DK and Jerry and Ricardo, who were, you know, all over loyal matches, either working for the club or just there to support the club. So, it's while we don't have soccer to other than the soccer's, but while we don't have our club to go and support, these opportunities have been few and far between, right? And um,
Right.
they're obviously going to ramp up as we get closer to the 2025. But this one is kind of like the biggest one yet, and um, compared to kind of the early events at Snapdragon, where you kind of had, I think Chavos were there with some drums, but you mostly had a lot of people milling about, not really sure where they fit in. Well, that those groups have kind of matured and they've kind of found where they fit in, and we're still finding it. And so this, I think, will be a much kind of truer representation of what the current state of our community is and where we're going. I think a lot of people are going to come. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I agree as well. And I do want to, so I did double check some of my messages from before they miss, and merch is absolutely in. It just hasn't been all checked to see what is in completely. And I would like to mention, since he just popped in now, we have a special guest appearance by our president. I'm going to pull him on because I have a particular question I would like to ask him specifically, since we're talking about events. So let's get him on the screen, maybe. All right, I'm going to remove him and try to bring him back on again and see what happens. All right, we're going to try again.
Doesn't this guy
Steve,
work in the technology sector?
We'll have to. Oh, wait. I think maybe it looked frozen for a second. Now he might be back again. Here he is.
All right.
Hello, Steve.
How you guys?
First, welcome, Steve. But I do have a quick question for you, since we're on events right now, and I don't know how much you've been listening to in the background. But the bonfire on the 20th, I know Nick had kind of started the process, and we're getting close. Do you have any other information or who a point person is? Because I think everybody's still planning on doing it. I just was double checking if we got a point person, and we're moving ahead with our big old bonfire.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, that's the plan. But while you bring it up, I think I'll shoot a few messages out tomorrow to kind of confirm and make sure all the other supporter groups are on board, and we can do this big, off event. No soccer, no SDFC, no wave, just a bunch of supporters hanging out and doing a cool bonfire. So I'll shoot a few messages tomorrow. Look for information on the Discord and or in a newsletter upcoming. I think it's an off week for the newsletter, right? But yeah, I'll confirm just to make sure everybody's still on board, because there's a lot of events in quick succession, and yeah, that kind of got set up a while ago. And it's really easy to go, oh, well, all this is happening, and then, oh yeah, well, we put that a while ago, and it kind of slips through the cracks, especially with the soccer's game now on the 21st. It's like those are two back-to-back events. So I'll shoot a few texts and see if everybody's still on board, confirming, and if they are, we'll move forward with it. If people think that it's better to push and we get a better crowd in another month or whatever, maybe that's the plan too. So I would say stay tuned for more information on that.
And then I have one quick question. I'll turn it over to Andrew afterwards, because I have not seen any chatter about a drum circle this week. Have you heard any chatter about a drum circle? I know we had one last Friday, but I know we're not doing them now every Friday just because of events at Snapdragon. And
yeah,
I just hadn't heard anything this week for a drum circle.
Yeah, the latest ones I saw this month were the 14th and the 28th back in Balboa Park, where Chula Vista used to do them. And those are Sunday mornings. So it's not like an evening, but it is on a Sunday morning. So, traffic's way better, especially for me living in North County. So the 14th and the 28th are the two dates for that. Yeah, please go out. Please, if you want to learn how to drum, if you want to get involved, if you do have history drumming, if you want to learn the chants, if you just want to learn the songs, if you want to learn how to be a capo, like that's like the fundamentals behind how the cool stuff we used to do in 109 that all started at drum circles just like these. And then it grows organically, and you get 10 people to know the songs, and then 15, and then 20, and then 50, and it really happens fast. And there's a lot of great songs that Dago Boys are bringing, and Chavos have new songs, and I'd say we're working on new songs too. I've got a few cool ideas. I'm just juggling a lot of plates right now, so I'm trying to fit that kind of stuff in. But I would say please come out and get involved. Not even that, but it's a really good way to just like stand there and get to know your fellow supporters. Like, yeah, you sit there, you sing songs, and you play drums, and you learn them, and you're sharing lyrics and sending pictures of lyrics. Like that's all great and fine, but like it's the camaraderie too, right? You're chatting, you're hanging out, you get to know these people. It's then the next time you show up, they're not strangers, and the next time you show up at events, you're like, oh yeah, I remember you from that night and this night, or that day and this day. And like, this is how you build community. This is how you build connections. It's like really getting to know each other through informal, casual meetups. So that eventually when we get to the stadium, these people aren't like strangers. These people are your homies. They're your brothers and sisters. They're your family, and you love and treat them as such. And that's exactly what happened in 109 through the years. So really looking forward to continuing that and I'm really excited that, Dago Boys and Bar 18 and obviously Chavos and us and everybody else involved are continuing this tradition of these drum circles and drum practices, especially this early. We have a lot of time until the first match in 2025. But the base layer you build now, you can only build up from that, and so you continue on from there. So I highly encourage everybody to go. I've been to a few myself, and they're just a good time. First and foremost, it's a lot of fun.
So, Steve, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on, as always. I wanted to ask you, and John and I, we already kind of brought everyone up to speed on the union, the going forward with the 7 groups, and that it's been kind of non-controversial. Everybody's been very welcoming, and it's all a very positive sign for working together to build the union. I just kind of want to get your, how do you feel right now, the way things are going? Like, are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you relieved? Where are you? How are you feeling about all of this right now?
I'd say all of those is a good compilation of emotions. Yeah, I think things are going well. I mean, first and foremost, there's the 2 groups of the past, us and Chavos, we have a lot of history. And so, I think we have a lot of history and a great relationship. So I think, first and foremost, we've laid that foundation, and we're just going to build off of, those 2 groups. Obviously there's a lot more groups involved. Riptides has been around and involved since, I think, they launched in June of last year. They're coming up on a year. That's great, So I
do want to just interject a little bit, because while, and just for the listeners who maybe haven't met some of these other groups, these are all people, for the most part, who were either with locals or Chavos or in 109. These are not people that just fell from the sky and are all of a sudden starting supporters group. These are people, for the most part, from our supporters group that have gone on to found these new groups.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Matt and Justin were in 109. They both have original locals jerseys. I've had a great time getting to know them better through this process and understand, why they started their own group and why they feel passionately about Riptides and why they, want to do that group instead of continuing on with locals. And I totally respect that, because I've gotten to know them really well through that. So backing up, just not, the 3 groups I've mentioned, but now, yeah, like you mentioned, now there's 7 groups, and that's a lot of different ideas and a lot of different people. And really it's about building this base layer of trust and foundation. That's why I mentioned Chavos first, because we have that already. And so we have that going forward. And I'm looking forward to continuing to build that with all these other groups and all these other people. So first and foremost, you have to get to know these people as people first, and then you get to know them as leaders, and then you get to know them as what their groups represent. And you kind of you build this beautiful painting of, coming from all these different corners. And so how are things going? Yeah, I mean, we've agreed to this framework. You guys have talked about 7 groups now, not 5. And I would say things are going as good as they can go. I think I'm kind of the person that I refuse to put expectations on this kind of stuff, because you're either setting yourself up to be let down, or you just exceed them really fast. And to me, it's this stuff just goes as fast as it needs to go. And if we push it,
let me tell you, man, I've got expectations. My expectations up here.
I would say
right
I agree with you. I guess to clarify, I'm talking more short-term expectations. I don't have some 2-week agenda, but we need to get this done in 2 weeks, because if I do.
Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Because some groups and some people need more time than others, and maybe they want to talk things through, or maybe they have a formal process about how that group does it. Whereas we within locals, we have a Slack channel and we talk all the time and we're on the same page. And if there's questions that come up there, we kind of work things out offline. But maybe other groups don't do that, or maybe other groups aren't ready to have those conversations yet within their own group, so they're kind of just sitting back waiting. So. But at the same time, I want to give them time to, and I think everybody wants to give them time to figure out their process and their internal and what their priorities are about what this alliance needs to talk about. So I think things are going well, and I look forward to continuing the conversations. We'll see where things go. John mentioned, there's a meeting Thursday. with the club. But I think that one of the big next steps is figuring out an alliance meeting outside of the club and talking about our own priorities, and approaching what our next steps are together. Within the supporter section, like that north end, those sections will be ours. Those will be
Steve,
ours to own.
Please
so like,
don't call it the north end. Can we stop calling it
whatever.
the
I
north?
just call
it's gonna stick.
direction.
If see, this has got to be at the top of the order of business, is to name the section something other than north end, because we don't have anything else to call it, and the more we call it north end, the harder it's going to be not to call it north end. So I'm just putting this.
Something else. I think something else will come up, and I think that's going to be on it'll be a talking point, I think, fairly soon.
Sure.
I think we all want to know what this sounds like, what the name is, what the identity of this thing might be. Name the section, that kind of stuff. So it's just a term because it's the direction, but I think
I understand. So speaking of names and stuff, so because of the kind of, there's like a diplomacy and politics kind of at work with building the union, right? And like it's kind of like you and John are kind of the point people for the locals. Every group has like two people kind of on this initial round table, Knights of the Round Table thing, right? So, but I think there is a lot of curiosity and maybe interest from members who are maybe not even in leadership, who have some curiosity or some interest in this union and want to contribute or be helpful. What kind of things can people do? Obviously we can't all go meet with the club, and we can't all go fit into a room or a group chat, right? So like, I know we're looking for suggestions for names and stuff like that, but what do you need from members should they want to help out in any way?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because it's even one that you're asking, and I'm going through like, do I even have an answer? Because I don't know if I do, because it's one of those things like, we are a supporter group, we represent a lot of members, but we're elected leadership, and I've been proud to be president since the start. I remain there, and it's kind of like in these conversations, you sit in a small room with leaders of all your individual groups, and like I just said, you build trust, you build like, you represent your supporter group, and Kevin and Miguel represent their supporter group, and like, all these other people within their pockets represent their supporter group, and you go and you sit at this table and you say, I can speak for them because my members trusted me to do that. And so, you have that confidence. And then sometimes you're like, I don't know if I should say that or not, or I don't know if we should decide that or not. Maybe we go back to our leadership or maybe grander membership would you have those conversations. But
perhaps suggest that people show up to the May 4th Chrome Ball event and get to know the people in the community from these other groups, perhaps.
Yeah. Most directly it would be show up, show out. Big event this Saturday at Hopnonymous, and then big event May 4th in Chula Vista. So the biggest and best thing you could do is show up and show out, and come be a part of it. Come swing by the booth, say hi, of course, but wear your locals gear, show up in the community, let it be known you're a member of our supporter group. I think it matters. I think representation matters amongst this, especially, like you guys mentioned, there's 7 groups now. There's a lot of different brands, and there's a lot of different names out there. There's a lot of different options for people. So, and I'm not sitting here saying on some big recruitment trail. Like I think you have to choose the right group for you, because it comes from a source deep down, like it comes from your soul and from your heart. So choose the group that fits you best.
Well,
but
honestly, when I joined the locals, it was the only group available.
Different story,
time. So that's how I ended up here. But now there's like a bunch of choices. So one thing I kind of wanted to kind of mention is that I think the way that we talk about organizing and structuring, like when we talk about it and when we talk about it on the show, like it sounds very rigid and formalized, but like the fact is that most of this stuff these conversations happen at these kind of events over a beer or something, like a casual conversation, and then it comes back to like the formal meeting. But like, you know, so for the last 4 years, like I was not a part of locals leadership in any way, was not in the meetings. I was helping with the podcast, but like I had input on a lot of things just by the nature of showing up and hanging out and having conversations. So like, you know, for people that are kind of ready to get in the mind space that, okay, it's going to be May, we're coming up on this whole, you know, maybe it's time to kick up my involvement a little bit. Like this event in Chula Vista, I think is really, because there will be not as much just the leadership of the groups present, but like their communities and their members, I think are going to be there.
I agree. You know, you start these conversations over a beer, and then you go from there. That's how this whole discussion really started. It was like, you know, hey, let's start talking about this stuff. We started talking about it, and it just rolls downhill from there. And that's really how we've gotten to where we are now. You know, so yeah, definitely show up, show out, get a beer, talk to fellow supporters, talk of other groups. You know, there's a lot of different brands, there's a lot of different groups now, there's a lot of different perspectives and opinions, and all of them matter. You know, like San Diego is such a melting pot, and it to me it does. Like we have 7 groups who represent 7 different perspectives and opinions, and if you ask us all to write a mission statement, they would all be different by nature of how those things work. But also like there's little nuances in how that stuff works. You know, everybody has different focuses and has different niches and pockets, and you know, however that works, if what we do doesn't grab one person, but what Bar 18 does or 18 Battalion does grab somebody, that's still a supporter gain, and like that's a net positive for everybody. Even if we don't grab that member to be a member of the locals, that's still somebody that's joining our kind of greater community, joining this alliance community that we're very much ongoing and building. So like
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Come out, you talk to people, become a part of this.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think one of the things that was appealing about locals is the quantity and quality of our merchandise. Now, my understanding is that the new blue, some of this new merch is physically in your possession, perhaps at your house.
I would not say it's in my possession.
Okay.
It's in the merch director's possession.
Okay.
I will defer.
Okay.
But yeah, stay tuned for more information on the merch. It's exciting. We're really excited to get this stuff out and get this stuff to, you know, the pre-orders, and then some other ideas maybe down the pipe too. So we've been talking a little bit, and I'm really excited for Lydia to explore those options and see what that looks like. So yeah, stay tuned to socials and Discord for more information on merch if you pre-ordered. Yeah, stay tuned for when and where you can get that stuff. And
does this include the scarves, or is this mostly the shirts and hoodies?
The shirts and hoodies, I would say, are first, and then the scarves would be after that. Those would just take a little bit longer in production. And
right.
As you could see in the background of the YouTube stream, it was a pretty intricate design, and so it took a little bit of time to kind of perfect the art behind the scenes, and then get that stuff to the manufacturer. So yeah, those will be a little bit later, but yeah, shirts and hoodies first and foremost. I would say very much stay tuned to Discord and email, newsletter, social media, all that kind of stuff.
The best way to show up and show out is to wear new locals merch, folks.
Yeah.
If you missed the pre-order, I believe there were some extras ordered. So if you missed the pre-order and you are still interested in some blue locals gear, reach out to Lydia, who is the director of merchandise, and she can let you know what may be available before it's gone, because this is a limited run. So get on that.
Yep, very much so. Very much so. Yeah, I know there was a few extras ordered, but not enough to like say we'll have it available, you know. So yeah, very much
Yeah. Well, all right, that's all very exciting stuff. It sounds like, you know, and then John and I, when we started the show this way, it's like, okay, it feels like things are starting to happen. Like we still don't have soccer matches to talk about, but there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of kind of community building phase right now. And yeah, I'm super stoked for you know, obviously the Chula Vista event. This uh event Saturday is going to be really cool too. So yeah, things are starting to happen. And if you are on the fence or haven't really been around the SDFC supporter environment yet, there are some opportunities coming up very shortly, including, you know, obviously Saturday and then on May 4 to, you know, dip your foot in a little bit and see what it's about.
Yep, come on, come out. Yeah, I think you guys mentioned it early in the podcast. I don't want to delay this too much, but I was listening and I heard, you know, you guys talk about how it's the same people, it's the same folks, it's a different team, it's certainly a different vibe, but you know, to be super open, like I was really weary about how this might go with this whole transition, but now that, you know, we've done several of these Chrome Ball Tour events and you see this, you know, you see Ricardo, you see Jerry, DK, Travis land practice with the team now, Ray, you know, former loyal photographer, but not even that, but you see all your Chavez brothers and sisters and you see, you know, locals come out and you're like, oh man, I haven't seen you in a while. It's so good to see you. You know, yesterday at the Sockers game, I saw a few locals that I hadn't seen since the end of the loyal season. And so, you know, yeah, it's everything's different than it used to be, but what is consistent and what is the same is us. It's the community. It's the people. It's individuals. It's friendships. It's bond. It's that kind of stuff. And so,
Yeah.
If you're weary with the team, I totally understand. But come out and see us. See us. You know, see us. See each other. Like, you know, if you're not going to do it for the team, do it for us. Yeah, do it for your friends and family. And so yeah, this Saturday, the 13th, Hopnonymous Brewing, 6 to 9. I think we'll be out there a little bit early, but 6 to 9 is the formal event. And then, yeah, the big event, May 4th in Chula Vista. And stay tuned for
Bring
anything.
your lightsaber. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And stay tuned for anything in between.
John, I know we're bumping up on an hour here. Is there any manner of business, dates people need to know, or anything that we didn't hit that we got to get to before we get out of here?
Yeah, a couple quick things. Our Rocket League team is in the SGL Cup. They've won their first 2 rounds of the Swiss stage. They just beat Timber's Army last night, I believe it was, which means they've made the final 8. I'm not sure what their
without one of their best players,
yet.
I will add, because like I mentioned, we had practice, but
all right.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to the rest of them who's stepping up. But really, the team's done an outstanding job this year for going up to the first division.
They're really good.
They definitely made it to the last 8. If they are able to qualify for the top 4 spots, they'll be in the double elimination part of the final phase of the tournament. If they fall in the bottom 4 spots, they'll be in the single elimination phase. So,
I will say they've got the other more established teams a little wary and rattled. Like, people know that they're coming. They're a little unproven. But the other SGs in the league know that this locals Rocket League team is for real. It's very exciting to watch these matches.
And they so I don't know if there'll be another match later this week or not, or if they're still going to
tomorrow. I believe.
Is it tomorrow?
I think there's another match tomorrow. I mean, please verify that. But I was talking with a member of the team earlier today.
AJ almost
like
always puts something in Discord about it. It may only be within an hour of the event, but there's something there. And we'll try to get that out to people and maybe bump it on socials if we get it in enough time. But likely to be another game this week, and hopefully they can keep winning, and we'll have a better update next week that they've advanced quite far in the cup. The other just last couple of things. I guess there's 3 total. One, just a reminder for all our members that there's a Leadership Council meeting on Wednesday, April 10th, which is tomorrow for us as we're recording this.
I'm glad we do the show the day before the meeting instead of the day after the meeting, when we might be able to tell people things that coming out of the meeting.
The next show. We do follow up on the next show.
That's true.
Okay, well, breaking news.
Yeah.
We do have
merch. Thank you. This is what I was wanting. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Well, yeah.
Too bad for the people who are listening on the podcast and can't see this.
Lydia is behind Steve holding up a Hecho in San Diego t-shirt with the blue bum logo on it, all shiny and chrome. So
she said she will put it in Discord tonight, pictures and information. So
awesome. Very exciting.
Yeah. Very exciting.
All right,
sorry, I did interrupt you.
Looking forward to wearing those this weekend.
Yes.
Anyway, for me to get back, so Leadership Council, if you have any questions about that, I mean, contact any of the representatives or anybody that you know who might be in leadership. And if you don't, there is a channel in Discord called Locals Business that you could always post a question or ask, or if you have something you want us to talk about at Leadership Council, that's kind of your place to get in there and find out information about these specific types of things, the business end of the locals, but also if you want to ask a question, that's the place. If you don't know any individual to talk to or reach out to, that's the place you can drop a question in there.
Yeah.
And then,
I am not, I think I've done a really good job of making myself easy to contact. I think like half of San Diego has my number. So yeah, please reach out.
And then our memberships at the moment, I believe, are still currently closed, and they will likely reopen on Wednesday the 10th if everything goes smoothly. We're hoping to have them up by Monday, but just a couple of snags of getting all the season numbers squared away and all that put together. So I think the final touches, hopefully we're going to be finished tonight. And if they are, memberships will be up Wednesday. And if they're not up Wednesday, it's going to be very soon. By next week, they'll be up and then back up, permanently after that. So we can just start pulling people in. We definitely like to get them up if possible before this Saturday in case we recruit any new people at the SG rally at Hopnonymous. And then my just kind of last thing is, we talked a little bit, Andrew, you mentioned about people showing up, or Steve as well, showing up and showing out. We're also always looking for people to help volunteer and help us out. And there are a lot of things to do that don't have to be time commitments where you're traveling to places or have to be at events. And I'm just going to give one example because we've been talking about it in our communications channel. Is if there's anybody out there who's listening to this that would be interested in, as Drew Steck put it, as our air traffic controller in terms of calendars, something you could totally do online and totally do from the comfort of your own home. It would really be nice if we had 1 or 2 people who just like that was their job, to help control a central calendar. So anytime as we have our various teams working on things, we make sure we're not overlapping events, which we do a fairly good job, but it would really help us all out if that could be a little more centralized. So if that's up your alley and you're willing to help out, like you just be at home and we give you access and you can just help make sure as people are sharing events and stuff, we're not getting conflicts as we look down the road, and we have a central place we can look for everything. That would help us out tremendously. So that's my big ask for this episode.
All right. So this was the inaugural episode of the Hell is Chrome podcast, just like the old podcast, but with our new name. I am going to be pushing behind the scenes for some much more metalcore, hardcore artwork merch. I will be lobbying and using the podcast Bully Pulpit to really get a nice Chrome Devil character going on some stuff. If there is interest out there, let me know. I need to bring a box of ammunition to this meeting and say, listen, there's demand for a metalcore Chrome Devil merchandise run. I need to justify that with evidence. So if that is something that appeals to you, please reach out to me by tomorrow so that I can go into this meeting and being like, look, I've got so many people, they really want devil
Hey, consider
stuff.
me in. Consider me in.
I think it's going to be a cool new avenue for us. And I know Travis is always excited to make new art. So, all right.
Yes.
I think we've hit on everything. Thank you, Steve, for jumping in. It's always great to have you. John, thank you so much for everything, getting the show together every week. And yeah, that's what we got. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week. Hopefully Saturday.
Good night, everyone.